Good day, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Military and Foreign Affairs Network. I am your host, the voice of reason. In today's episode, we're continuing to watch the ongoing a shooting war that is taking place between the Islamic Republic of Iran, Israel, and the United States, and to a growing extent, the Gulf Cooperation Council, including Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, the United Arab Emirates, and even possibly Oman. Now, a lot of folks are talking about how quickly the Iranians have, quote-unquote, escalated this conflict, meaning they have fired weapon systems at a variety of Muslim countries, including, again, Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Bahrain. And it seems to me that the folks that seem to be stunned by the fact that the Iranians are doing this is rather interesting. It really is. So let's compare and contrast, right? So if we look at what is happening right now, we look at the opening stages of the conflict, we look at the current Iranian strategy right now, which is to launch these missiles and expand and possibly widen the war. Is that what they're doing? Are they attempting to escalate to de-escalate? That tends to be some of the possible thought process as well. But what I want to do is, let's say you as an American, okay? Let's say that you wake up one day and the White House has been destroyed. Not only that, the White House has been destroyed, the President of the United States has been killed, the Secretary of Defense has been killed, the family members of the President have been killed. Senior members of the U.S. military, members of the High Command, are killed. The chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff is killed when the Pentagon is destroyed. How would you respond? How would you feel the United States should respond if you were on the other end of that? So I don't think at this point the United States could escalate this conflict more than it already has. I mean, we went from point A to Z pretty quickly. Pretty quickly. We, some people are calling it an assassination. You constantly hear Al Jazeera calling it the U.S. assassination of the supreme leader. Well, it was a decapitation strike. Again, you can't escalate much more than how the United States started this operation, right? You can't. Now, with that being said, what do you believe the response of Iran? What would be your response? What would you want, say, the United States military to do if you woke up one morning and a near-peer adversary had launched a decapitation strike and did that to the United States? Where would you be? How would you feel? What would you want to happen? How would that work out for you? But again, I mean, you have to look at it and you have to compare and contrast with that viewpoint, right? Because again, you can't really escalate. I mean, outside the use of nuclear weapons, I mean, that would probably be the only one-up you could possibly do right now, right? So what would you do? Now, compounding that, you've got other issues too going on here, right? You have Iran, which is now very much in bed with the Russian Federation. I mean, obviously the Russian Federation is not happy with the United States. A lot of Russian boys have been killed by American and European weapon systems in this conflict. So obviously there's no love lost there, and essentially the Iranians and the Russians share a common border. They are able to support each other, either via a direct land route through Turkmenistan or the Caspian Sea. And then furthermore, you have China, right? You have China watching what is happening and thinking to itself that, eventually we're going to have to fight these guys. I mean, if we want to retake Taiwan, the road to Taiwan goes through the United States. So what are the Chinese going to do? And you got the North Koreans, right? The North Koreans are in this as well. So you have this perfect storm of near peer, in some case far peer adversaries: Iran, Russia, China, North Korea, that can very much support each other. And they are. Now, some believe that the Iranians may or may not run out of missiles that they're firing at the Gulf Cooperation Council and the countries hosting U.S. troops. Well, I don't believe the Iranians are going to run out of missiles before the United States runs out of missiles. The missiles that the Iranians are using right now are much more cheaper systems than these high-end systems that the United States is using to shoot down these missiles. I mean, in some cases, they're firing 3 Patriot PAC-3s, PAC-2s, PAC-3s to take down one Iranian ballistic missile, and in some cases they're not hitting them, right? So they're expending a lot of ordnance, meaning the United States, but as are the Iranians as well. But you have a certain level of production capability that just doesn't exist in Iran, that obviously the United States could hit and destroy and take down that ability of Iran to produce those weapon systems. But Iran is also able to get those weapon systems from the actors I just talked about: Russia, China, North Korea, right? So they could still get weapon systems into the country. And quite possibly some of these weapons that the Iranians are producing, it could be more difficult for the United States to get at some of those stockpiles and some of those factories that are deep under some of these very, very large mountains in Iran. So very interesting situation that is occurring. And I don't think, when you hear the president talking about certain actors in Iran have reached out and maybe want to talk, that may be an element of the Iranian body politic that wants to do that. But it seems right now the Iranian military, the Revolutionary Guard, are not on that same page. And again, wake up one morning, the White House is destroyed, the Pentagon is destroyed, the president has been killed, many of the key figures in the U.S. military, including the Secretary of Defense, is dead. How would you want the American military to respond? Would you say, hey, I think it's time we need to talk, right? Would you as an American, do you honestly believe that would be your first thought process? No, it would not be, especially if you're a member of the American military or a former member of the American military. You would be, let's go get them. I guarantee it. And that's the situation we're in now. Now, I did want to discuss something that's not widely known. It is public information. I'm not releasing anything that's classified. But the question right now is, again, why are the Iranians attacking all these local Muslim nations that are sponsoring U.S. troops? Well, it's just not the fact that they're sponsoring U.S. forces. There are elements of the U.S. Army that are operating HIMARS systems in Kuwait and the United Arab Emirates. So they're using those HIMARS. They're using the ATACMS in the newer precision-guided missile system to attack targets inside of Iran with ballistic missiles. So these inbound weapon systems coming from these Muslim nation states, the Gulf Cooperation Council, again, Kuwait, the UAE, they're hosting these American forces that have the ability to launch these semi-ballistic missiles, and they are launching these missile systems against Iranian targets. That's why you're seeing Iran doing what it's doing. And again, compounding that, it's just not that. It was the level of violence that was initiated by the United States against those key, quote-unquote, regime targets in Iran. Right? So this has escalated to the point where you can't really escalate anymore. And that's the situation. You're at maximum escalation in terms of you've taken out most of the key leadership, or a lot of the key leadership in Iran. So you have the military leadership and you have the political leadership. The military leadership was given its orders, but not only that, the military leadership probably has a different thought process in terms of what they want to do now this has happened. Right? I mean, if you look at from the Iranian military perspective, talking is over. The people that we're going to talk and have a conversation with, those guys are dead. The U.S. killed them all. They're dead. They're gone. So I don't know who the president is going to talk to, but the people running the show right now, the military, I don't think they want to talk in Iran. I think this is going to a different place. And you're seeing a new evolution in warfare where at least if you're not a near peer actor, or a near peer adversary, and you don't have the capability of inflicting direct harm on the continental United States, the U.S. method of war right now, essentially, if you want to call it the Trump doctrine, but it even predates Trump. The methodology is to go after the senior leadership now. Now that was something you didn't really see outside of assassinations attempt in earlier periods of human warfare, where in the time that we're in now, you can go after the principles and kill the principles. And not only that, try and kill everybody below him as well. And that's the game that we're in right now. And I'm not sure if that is necessarily going to be looked at in terms of history as a good thing or a bad thing. We'll see what happens. But again, as you watch what's happening and as this continues to quote-unquote escalate, I don't think it can escalate it anymore. Maybe not. But we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. But obviously a very, very interesting situation on the ground that's taking place. And we'll continue to cover and bring you more information. As always, thank you for joining us. Good day.